What's up, guys? Back at you. It's been about a week. Work has been crazy. Being sick has been crazy. Haven't been able to get anything out this week. I've received a bunch of awesome gifts from community members over the last month or so. I still need to do a video on that stuff, and I think there's one more coming that I want to include, so don't think I forgot about you. There's just so many kind people that have been sending me some stuff that I really appreciate it. I want to get a video out on that, but that wasn't able to happen this week with everything going on. And once I get that last piece of the puzzle, I will do a video on all that from all these wonderful gentlemen in the community. But yeah, it's been a week. But All-Star voting came in. Eric over at 4 Leaf puts all this on. Thank you so much to him for everything he does, all the work he puts into this. Thank you to Scott at Reindeer Studios for making those wonderful looking all-star stars for everybody that wins. That's really cool. But with most of my friends not even voting, I figured, I might miss the boat on this one, but I didn't, and I got the nod for all-star. So thank you to everybody out there that stuck your neck out there and voted, even though I know it's hard with all the people you have to leave off. I get it. It was hard for me as well, but thank you for doing it. I really appreciate it. Really going to cherish that all-star. That's super fun. So thank you to Eric, and thank you to everybody that voted for anybody, not just me. Thank you for everybody that voted, and it's a fun thing for a lot of people, and a lot of my friends, a lot of people I voted for made it as well. So I'm just super happy to see that. So very fun to see that this week, for sure. But this video here is going to be involving Don Larsen. Obviously most famous for the 1956 World Series perfect game, which will probably never be replicated. Super awesome feat. But one thing most people don't know is that he came here. He was signed by the Colt 45s in '64, and he actually pitched a game in the Astrodome for us in 1965 on April 18th, but it was traded on April 24th, so he didn't stay long. But in the meantime, the big thing that was happening in this town was the Astrodome being opened. It was the biggest news in the country, and indoor baseball, indoor stadium for the first time was the eighth wonder of the world. It was just completely an amazing thing. Of course, my favorite place ever, always will be. But Don Larsen was pitching for us, and as you may or may not know, the opening inaugural preseason series, the exhibition series, was here, and we played against the Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. The first game was against the Yankees. Mickey Mantle hit a home run famously in that game, so the first ever home run in the Dome in any kind of a sanctioned game, even though it was preseason, was Mickey Mantle. And there was exhibitions and stuff before that, and inter-squad games and things like that, but that was the first real one. And then, of course, when the season opened, all the official stats started happening. But they played April 9th, 1965 is when that exhibition game opened the stadium. And then on the 12th of April, 65, the real season started. But over that weekend on April 9th, 10th, and 11th, there was these exhibition games going. And Larsen was on our team. He was not on the Yankees at that time. So real cool that he only pitched one game in 65 for us, but he got a card. So here is the back. 1965 Topps, one of my favorite vintage sets of all time. Don Larsen. Don pitched a no-hit perfect game in the 1956 World Series, as we know, against the Dodgers. Really nice back. This card is so nice. It is unbelievably centered. And a beautiful autograph. This thing is centered 50-50 both ways. As bold a 10 out of 10 autograph as you'll ever get. Has a little tiny spot right there, and that is it. Everything else about this card just about is amazing. But the eye appeal is off the charts with this centering. Beautiful autograph. So there's the Houston Astros Don Larsen card. He only pitched one game in 65 with us, but got a card, and I believe that ended up being his last card, even though he was traded after that. So very lucky that he got the Astros pennant on that 65 card. Super cool. But this video is going to be about some stuff from his estate. Of course, he's been passed for some time. A gentleman bought thousands of items from his estate and slowly has been trickling them out, selling them, and I ran across some stuff that I could not pass up. So when you got Don Larsen's estate and his personal effects being sold, and then Astrodome related history, you know, I can't pass that up. But before we get to that, here is an official program from that series. Yes, it is roached out on the corners, but if you buy a nice one of these, they are very, very, very expensive. So I can't do that. But here is the Yankees Astros preseason series 1965 when they opened the Dome. Fingers Furniture ad, that is still around here, by the way. But playing exhibitions with the Yankees and the Orioles over that opening weekend. This is a cool magazine, all about the Astrodome there. There's so many cool things in here, but we can just highlight a few. Of course, all the old great advertisements. Look at that. That Coke advertisement is awesome. General Manager Paul Richards, no relation. I wish he was, but no relation to me. Lum Harris was the manager. But super cool stuff in here. Nellie Fox, look at that. Nellie Fox Astro. Dick Farrell is our big pitcher. There's the seating charts. Ticket information for the seating. Schedule information. Guido's. This seafood restaurant in Galveston is still there. Still run by the same family. Guido's. Really interesting to see that in here, actually. But yeah, the Gene Elston, all these guys on the Harry Callis. We now have his son doing our games. Pretty cool. Just all kinds of neat stuff in here. There's Bob Ashpermani. He was our big hitting star for a while there. All kinds of stuff about the Dome, of course. Here is the New York Yankees. You got Mantle and Maris. Pitchers, you got Whitey Ford. Just super cool. Elston Howard there. Bobby Richardson. All the greats against the Astros. So super cool. But this was a big deal when this thing opened. And there's some guys you might recognize. National League stars. Look at that. Talking about the souvenir spots. Galaxy Gifts and satellite shops showing you where to go buy stuff even back then. Super hilarious. There's Larry Durker. He's awesome. Hal Woodishick. And there is our guy right there. That's what I was looking for. So Don Larsen as an Astro is in this magazine. Even though he was just briefly here. Bob Lillis as a player. He would manage us later on. Jimmy Wynn and Rusty Staub. Look at all this stuff over here, Galaxy Gifts. That's just super awesome. All the stuff they were trying to sell. Awesome stuff. There's Claude Raymond, the guy that multiple times had his fly down on his Topps card to just make us laugh. There's Joe Morgan right there. Bob Lillis again. And then it wraps up. But Don Larsen was in this thing, so kind of cool. But that is the original, and if it wasn't in such bad shape, it would be extremely expensive. Opening program, and they did do reprints of these, so you have to be careful of that if it's too nice. They did 25th anniversary reprints, so if you want a perfect one just to look at, those are even not cheap, but they're not insanely expensive like the original ones. But yeah, really cool to have that program. But that, and then the autographed 1965 Don Larsen Astros card will serve as our backdrop. But I bought some items from his estate, and it's just super cool, guys. So personal photographs are just really, you know how I feel about photographs. We will look at them here. I bought several of them. This one just has some friends of his when they went to the opening series to see the Astrodome for the first time. And look at this. Look at that. I love this little kid down here waving. Just the joy on his face. But I basically bought this one just so I could have the picture of the seats, which I'm sitting in right now, some seats from the Astrodome. This is a good shot of the nice big padded seats we used to have. It's just plastic in the new stadium, not even close to that nice. But that, and then the kid as a little bonus, was just too awesome. Here is a personal photograph from Don Larsen's estate of the outside of the Astrodome with the flags. You got the American Texan flag and the Astros flag there. That's the old exterior before they added the big circular stairwells on the outside. So this is literally the first days of the Astrodome, period. When they first opened, they had the grounds crew. They changed this pretty quick, but the grounds crew was dressed up like astronauts. And this is a photo. I'm assuming this is Don's wife taking all these photos. Just super, super cool. But that's what the grounds crew would have been wearing right at the beginning when this thing opened. And another thing you can notice, it is real grass and dirt. Yes, when they opened the Astrodome, it was real grass and dirt. And there was clear glass tiles on the roof. But no one could see the ball. So they had to paint those white. And that's what killed the grass. And they had to literally invent AstroTurf to be able to play sports in there again. Here's one of Don pitching. And you got the real grass and everything, of course, there. Super, super cool photo there. Here's the rotunda up at the top. This would later be removed. But they had the rotunda way there at the top. Did all kinds of crazy things up there back in the day. And then one of on the mound standing there, and then the scoreboard in the background. And the exploding scoreboard when the dome opened was a big deal. And you got one there with the scoreboard, American flag. And remember, these were in Don Larsen's personal photo albums until he passed. And then here's another one. And here's the original one I bought, because it has the exploding scoreboard happening. You got the bull with the flags. You got the cattle roping guy, the cowboy, and everything lighting up. This is what I bought at first, because I thought that's just super cool. But I thought these other shots were all just generic, like, just shots of the scoreboard and stuff. But I didn't even know at first these were taken from that original series. I just thought these were random Astrodome photos that he took. At the time, I didn't even know he had only been there, would be there for another couple weeks, and then never pitched for us again. But these are not just random photos. So if you look closely here, Astros, Yankees. So these were taken from that original series against the Yankees when the Astrodome opened, the exhibition. And I didn't know that. You can see it on this camera because it zooms, but in real life you have to pretty much have a magnifying glass to look at this. So I had no idea until I got them. And I pulled out the magnifying glass just to look at stuff closer, and bam. Astros, Yankees, the original series, original photos from Don Larsen himself. This one here says Don Larsen is the only Major League pitcher ever to pitch a perfect no-hit game in the World Series with the Yankees October 8, 1956 against the Dodgers. So that's why his wife would have taken that photo. I just thought it was a generic picture from inside the dome until I started noticing, and then I bought all of them. Like, this is crazy cool. Houston Astros, welcome to you to the Astrodome, world's first air-conditioned, all-purpose stadium, the eighth wonder of the world. Now on sale, just $1 inside the Astrodome. It's talking about a book of pictures and stories they had there. The most complete stadium and sports book in the world. So they were selling that book from the new Astrodome. The most wonderful stadium ever. And then there it is. Another shot right before this game. Astros, Yankees. Hadn't started yet. Super, super cool. So these were taken from that original opening exhibition series in the Astrodome. And these were owned and taken by Don Larsen and his family. Just cannot beat that kind of stuff. Just super, super cool. I did not know any of that when I was buying these. I just thought it would be cool to have some Astrodome pictures from Don Larsen himself. Thought that would just be awesome. But knowing that these were that first weekend and he was traded right after that, these are super, super special for sure. But I ran into this article. I was trying to find out what was going on in those games and which games were on what days, because you look on the internet with AI or Google or whatever you're trying to do, it's all wrong. It's just all completely erroneous information. So I finally found this from the New York Times archives. That article right there. And you can buy like official copies of these for like 60, 80 bucks. I'm not going to do that. But the cool thing is they spelled it out. So it's just so fascinating to hear. Well, of course, we know it was a big deal when it opened, but Houston, April 8th. Stadiums all over the world, from Olympia to Flushing Meadow, will become obsolete tomorrow night when the Houston Astros and New York Yankees play baseball on the greenhouse grass of the Harris County Dome Stadium. And that's what it was called before the Astrodome. Harris County Dome Stadium. That was the first name. The teams will meet 25 feet below ground level of this heat-choked Texas flatland beneath 4,596 transparent skylights that rise 208 feet. Every minute, 2.5 million cubic feet of cooled air will swirl through the world's first indoor Major League arena and its largest air-conditioned room. Dick Farrell will pitch for the National League club against Mel Stottlemyre of the Yankees. The game will begin at 8:30 p.m. New York time. On Saturday, the Astros will meet Baltimore Orioles in the afternoon and the Yankees at night. On Sunday, in another day-night separate admission program, the Astros will face the Yankees during the daylight and the Orioles under 1906 dome lights. The regular season begins on Monday with a night game against the Philadelphia Phillies. By that time, according to a local joke, the Astros will be space sick and the $40 million arena will have been paid for. Can you imagine that? $40 million nowadays. Oh my goodness. And that's another thing. You can see in this picture, all those skylights, those were clear at that time. They weren't painted yet, so it was just bright. No one could catch the ball. So that didn't work too good, but it also killed the grass, and the invention of AstroTurf would come. Last night, the Astros ran through a dress rehearsal of the opening, a 9-inning game with a farm team. Today, they repeated the rehearsal under daylight conditions. Outfielders generally found tracking high flies difficult under the interlacing light patterns of the dome, especially in daylight hours. But most of the players commented favorably on the flatness of the field and the windlessness of the park. Both boons to pitchers, of course, particularly those with control and breaking stuff. The great moment of last night's game occurred when Joe Morgan, second baseman, smashed the first competitive home run in the Astrodome history into the right field bleachers. So he hit the first one in this, and then Mantle hit the first one in the regular, real exhibition game, and then, of course, the real season would start after that, but which are called pavilion seats and have to be vacuum cleaned. Ooh. On schedule, the Astrodome blew its top. For 45 seconds, the $2 million scoreboard flashed red fireworks, shooting Cowboys, bucking Broncos, and fire-snorting Bulls with the American and Texas flags growing from their horns. The accompanying sounds, bull jets cracking, herds lowing, and then stampeding, bulls roaring, and the first 10 assault waves against the Alamo were described on a local television station as comparing favorably with Mozart's surprise symphony, I should say. There are many surprises in the Astrodome. There are, for example, 40 water fountains, whoa, all situated near food and drink concession areas. The cigarette machines are educational. They bear such information as, in 1881, James Bonsack invented the first practical making machine which revolutionized an industry that depended upon women to roll 5 cigarettes a minute. Oh my goodness. There are 9 levels, each with a distinctive color, from working man's brown to royal blue. The public telephones are each level matched colors with the upholstered seats. Patrons on the lower level have ready access to the Dome Skeller, a pseudo-Bavarian garden with composition trees and picnic-type tables that face the field from the windows beyond the 3 outfielders. And of course, all this stuff would change later when they redid stuff. But the royal blue people on the highest level of the park have access to a Japanese restaurant as well as private rooms. The rooms have private telephones, lavatories, televisions, couches, and custom designed decor that usually includes original mosaics or oral murals. There are 53 such rooms, costing an average of $15,000 a year on a 5-year lease. At least 24 upholstered seats of the art cinema variety accompany each room. Except for the brown pavilion seats, foam bottom rounded wooden backs, all Astrodome seats are completely upholstered on the theory that elegance is the best defense to vandalism. Wow. The only permanent advertising signs in the Astrodome are the 2 huge orange Gulf oil symbols, one on each side of the center field scoreboard complex. Gulf is reported to have paid $1 million for 5 years and to have refused entries to sell it back to Houston Sports Association, which has since received better offers. Until tomorrow night, when a crowd estimated 49,500, including 5,000 standees, will fill the park, the Astrodome will seem unreal in its elegant colors, its concrete white cleanness, its hallowing, echoing public address system. This won't be a monument, said Roy Hopfines, president of the Houston Sports Association and the spirit under the dome. This is a living, breathing thing. This is, said Billy Graham, who will bring his evangelical campaign here in the fall, the 8th wonder of the world. So that is just a fantastic article, giving us all kinds of insight into the time when the dome was opened. Just magical, amazing stuff. Just had to read that. But that's what was happening. Don Larsen, his family, everybody he knew was excited about coming to this place. Super, super cool. Now I have some family photos from Don Larsen's estate, cataloging his experience when the Astrodome opened. You cannot get any cooler than that. Except maybe this. The last thing I will leave you with. This is super, super cool. Some of the stuff that he had kept over the years and sold in this estate sale were Western Union telegrams. Of course, that's how they had to communicate back and forth back in the day, with speedy delivery. And this one is exceptional. So I bought this one. So Western Union, October 4th, 1958. So this isn't the 1956 World Series of Don Larsen, but this is when the Yankees were about to win the 1958 World Series. This was right in the middle of that World Series. I believe it ended on the 9th or something like that. So October 4th, right in the middle of the World Series. This is from North Hollywood, California. And Don Larsen has a delivery receipt here. As early as possible, of course both those words are misspelled. As early as possible in the AM, don't phone Yankee Stadium. Keep that up. We have a show coming up in November. Congratulations, Bob Hope. So this is a telegram to Don Larsen in the 1958 World Series, back and forth from Don Larsen to Bob Hope. Isn't that just incredible? And this is something Don Larsen kept till his dying day. So these photos, that telegram with Don Larsen in the Yankees 58 World Series, and Bob Hope communicating with him from North Hollywood, California. I could not pass that one up. That's not just a generic one from friends and family. These super cool photos from right when the Astrodome opened just means so much to me. Just the stuff that's on there when you look at the scoreboard, the stuff his wife was taking pictures of, trying to record the moment. And that glorious stadium there with the huge scoreboard. No one had ever seen anything like this in history until that happened. But that is it, guys. Those are the items from the Don Larsen estate that I have procured, and I couldn't be happier. Along with, I have the original Astrodome opening program with the Yankees, and then now I have the 1965 perfectly dead centered both ways autographed card. Absolutely love that. I will keep this all together in my Astros Don Larsen collection. Hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed putting this together. Really, really love this kind of stuff. Irreplaceable, one-of-a-kind stuff. Super, super fun. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything. Thank you again to everybody that voted for All-Stars. Super awesome. Thank you for being awesome out there, and we will see you on the next one.